This is my report from AXPONA 2025 in Schaumburg, Illinois. If you like this report, please kindly click like and subscribe to my What's Best Forum YouTube channel. This is my third AXPONA. I've gone 3 years in a row. I always stay at the Hyatt, which is about 6 minutes away. Wonderful hotel, and I recommend people stay there. There is a strong correlation I have discovered. The fewer interviews I do and the fewer rooms I go here, the more fun I have because I have time to spend with my friends. This was the most fun show I've ever been to, and I did the least interviews I've ever done, but we'll get back to that in a minute. But it was wonderful to meet Jeff Dorgay from Tone Publications for the first time in person. I hang out with Alan Cafton, John Hughes. I met Tom Booker, an Australian from New York who's working on purchasing a turntable. Hung out with my dear friend David Blumenstein, saw Fred Ainsley. Gary Leeds had this wonderful event at Perry's in which he introduced the Rockna Wave Dream Reference Signature DAC and the Westminster Lab Integrated Amplifier. I am looking forward to interviewing Angus Lung, the designer at Westminster Lab, to understand how they've integrated some of the Quest and some of the REI into this new integrated amplifier. I saw Damon von Schweigert, of course. I did a brief interview with Lucas Fickus about a new device we're going to talk about. I met Peter Quotrup of AudioNote for the first time, and I and David discussed music. He introduced me to a new Dutch band, an EDM Dutch band called Noisia, Noisia, which Tinka, my Dutch wife, actually totally knew about. And the music is really cool. Very interesting new music from Peter at AudioNote. We had a wonderful dinner last night with about 15 people at a local pizza place with Jameson, David Blumenstein's friends, and Grover. And it was just an absolutely wonderful event socially. And I got to meet loads and loads of new What's Best Forum people who were on the forum, but I'd never met in person. And I told each of them what I tell everybody given the opportunity, that anytime you deal with the public like we do in What's Best, anytime you deal with the public, there is nonsense. But I truly believe What's Best has the least nonsense of any audio form in the world, and we're very proud of that. So it's very fun to make this such a big social event for me. The attendance on Friday was by far the biggest traffic of any show I have ever seen on a Friday. It was like Saturday afternoon. I don't know what's going on here, but Friday was packed, and it was gratifying to see a show so busy on a Friday. I did the fewest interviews ever, but I have a new thing. I'm doing very few interviews, but each interview is substantially the depth and breadth of my Masters and Makers interviews when I interview people for about 25 or 30 minutes on Zoom. So I did 3 significant interviews. You've got to be on the lookout for these things. I interviewed Ilias Koutramanos, who's the Chief Commercial Officer at Estalon. Estalon's room was sounding the best. I personally have heard Estalon. When Estalon plays on MSB or heavy, big, brute electronics like that, it's just, I usually find it touch dry. Here they were using their usual Vetus, but I don't know. It was the nicest Estalon sound I have heard so far, and I genuinely liked it. We talked about the top-of-the-line Estalon Extreme 2, and you'll be on the lookout for that interview. I also met Alon Wolf officially for the first time. Now, maybe this is unfair. I had always sort of had the impression that Alon was just, his natural demeanor is just a little bit prickly, but he was very nice with me. I asked him my usual Masters and Makers, very in-depth design priority type questions, which I think he found unusual. I think he was happy to not say, oh, tell me about your speaker, because that's boring as fuck. But of course, they're happy to do that. But I think he actually enjoyed the more substantive design questions, and he suggested that at the end. So be on the lookout for that M9 interview. I think that was the most highest MSRP room I have ever encountered in my entire life. I think we totaled over $2.5 million with M9s. Brandon Lauer was displaying $600,000 of Watt-X digital equipment, top-of-the-line flagship everything. There were at least 2 D'Agostino Relentlesses there. Might have been 2 pairs. At least 2 Just a crazy off the top MSRP for this M9 system. It was in Elliot Goldman's old room, the club room on the 15th floor. But I thought it was sounding very good, and be on the lookout for my interview with Alon. I met for the first time Cyril Hammer, who's a managing director and the designer at Solution. He was a very nice guy, delightful, easygoing. Had a very in-depth interview with him about the new Solution 717, about which many people are eagerly anticipating. So be on the lookout for that third big interview. Oh, and it seems to me that Solution 7 series sound has evolved over time. When Solution was very popular circa 2015, 2016, it was just not my cup of tea. I just found it kind of solid state dry. But what I heard with the Gauder acoustic, and oh my God, they had an amazing transrotor turntable. One of these gorgeous pendulum stabilizing things, kind of reminiscent of the clear audio statement turntable with that giant pendulum down the middle. This thing was just, those transrotors are just absolute works of art. And they were playing vinyl constantly. And that Solution room, if you had told me that was not solid state, I think I would have believed you. Among other rooms I liked, I interviewed the Volti audio designer last November at Capitol Audio Fest when he had a only static display of his Volti Vittora. So this is the first time I heard it. I directed a lot of people to that room. I thought that Volti Vittora sounded great. It's very much the ground up, low center of gravity of frequency, gravitas, that I like. It sounded heavy and weighty and organic. And I think the whole thing for a 4-piece thing. So you got the big horn thing, and then he gives you 2 subwoofers as well. So it's a 4-piece system for, I think, around $50,000. I thought that was great. Other rooms I liked, Colin King was showing, of Gestalt Audio, was showing his usual Wolf von Lange Sons. I thought that sounded great. They always do. The Wolf von Lange Son, along with the Devore 096, is one of my standard recommendations for a smallish box speaker, not crazy expensive, organic, natural sounding. Can listen to that all day, along, of course, with a little bit more expensive, but Ken Sanger's field coil speakers. Jeff Catalano, High Water Sound, was showing this time. He usually shows the Cesaro Opus with dual subwoofers, which I like a lot. This time he was showing the smallest model, the Mendelssohn, which really is only 1 horn out of, I think, 3 drivers. And I like Aliano Electronics, and Jeff distributes Aliano now, I believe. I like it, but for more insensitive systems, I just think something like a Cesaro is crying out for low power SET. So I adore Jeff, but I just don't know why he's using this big power stuff on something as sensitive as Cesaro. I went to the GIP room. A lot of people like that room. I think they're sort of Western Electric. The sound is very good. The style was a little too DIY for me personally, which people did not like that criticism, but interesting sound. I think I preferred the Volti Vittora, but another interesting effort. I enjoyed walking around with my very first Audio Cafe professional consulting client. This is a fellow I've been counseling for a couple of weeks on the phone. We met in person for the first time. I helped him conduct a horn tour to help him compare horn alternatives to the Tune Audio Animas that he is very much enchanted with, and trying to help him discuss horns and see if there are any other horn alternatives he should consider before pulling the trigger on the Tune Audio Animas. I noticed a lot of turntables at the show. Maybe it just happened to be the rooms I was self-selecting, but a lot of turntables. Good work. What else? This is a very fun show. I think that the attendance was great. I think the exhibitors appreciated the attendance. And let me just see what else here. I got to see Mike Powell. I got to just hang out with so many people. It was just really, really fun socially. But the interviews I did... Oh, I also interviewed Lucas Ficus of Lampesator about the new Genia DAC. $17,000 approximately, and this Xenia DAC is a tribute to Lucas's design mentor. Very interesting DAC. It's a simplified thing. No preamp, no remote control, simplified bare bones thing. It is not meant to be a tube roller's paradise. You put the tubes in the middle of the box and there's no tube sockets on the top. It's a purist design. It's something that's kind of up my personal alley, so I'm very curious to learn more about that over time. If you enjoy this, please click like and subscribe to my What's Best For 'Em YouTube channel, and thanks for watching.